we are back with, of course, as always, I'm Jeff C. I'll let you introduce
Mr.
yourself.
SOLI. Mr. SOLI.
Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, as always, it's been an interesting week in the world of United States American politics. I mean, Trump is continuing on the path with some groundbreaking executive orders and very pro-America first executive orders, following through on the agenda that people voted for, even though the left likes to say that we didn't vote for that, which is exactly what we voted for. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, talk about the left's blatant disregard for anything that openly exposes corruption. I mean, what's your take on all of this? They seem to have completely... We've been talking about this for a while, how they've gone the other direction, but they're like, I mean, it's just blatantly out in the open now. They're defending corruption. So I don't know.
So to quote Barack Obama, the patron saint of Democrats, the Democrats are now on the wrong side of history. They claim to be on the right side of history forever. They are now on the wrong side of history. Americans have voted. They want America first. They want Trump. They want endless. They want to end the wars, close the borders, get inflation back down to earth, and bring normalcy back to American life. And we figured out from the Doge team that there's an incredible amount of waste, fraud, and abuse going on at all levels of the federal government. To date, it's USAID has been the worst culprit, but they're looking at the Department of Education. They're going to look at the military. They're going to look at the Treasury. And the Democrats are pushing back every single step of the way and saying that it's what are you doing? These unelected bureaucrats, well, the people that run these organizations are unelected bureaucrats. The administrative state that Vivek speaks about so much. These are the people who are spending all of our tax dollars on crazy ideological programs around the world to the tune of trillions, and no one was aware of it. And the Democrats, let me, if I may, at a time when after this kind of crushing defeat, at a time when Democrats should be going back to their states and having town halls and speaking directly to voters and saying, what do we get wrong? How are we not serving you guys? What did we miss here? Because Trump on the electoral vote and the popular vote, we're obviously not connecting with you guys. Why aren't they spending their time doing that? They're spending their time in DC, standing in front of federal buildings, screaming at cameras about Elon Musk doing something that he shouldn't be doing, saving taxpayers trillions of dollars. How dare you not take a salary? And he wasn't elected. Trump was elected and Trump appointed him. That happens all the time. Presidents appoint people all the time. Trump clearly won the election and Trump appointed him. He has every right to be there. And in terms of not being elected, Kamala Harris wasn't elected vice president. She was selected and placed there. They had no problem with that. The VP of the country. This guy's just there to do an audit. The fact that they're so blinded by their own duplicity that they can't see how bad the optics are of this to their own constituents, to average Americans.
Well, because all they're doing is they're just defending their own corruption. So rather than calling out like, oh my God, look at all this money that went to this and all of this money that went to that. And when it could have gone to, the homeless veterans and, and medical research and I mean, just whatever, all of these other pet projects that they claim to care about. And all they're doing right now is instead of calling that out, they're standing out, like you said, in front of federal buildings, defending the fact that they can't get their laundered money anymore.
Well, exactly, and it's telling where they're holding these events. They're holding them in D.C. because if Elizabeth Warren went back to Massachusetts and did this in Boston, there'd be this many people watching her scream and yell to one camera. Zero. Because if she went, all the folks on the left who are doing this, if they went back to their actual states and talked to voters, they'd realize they're pissed off. Single mothers. I mean, that's who elected them. People that have bills to pay, that can't afford them, that have rent to pay, that can't make it, that their credit cards are maxed out. That's what they care about, not these isms and big, lofty, you know what I mean? Like they want to have more affordable life, and you're worried about these huge programs that go to everyone else but us, funding these ideological programs in Iraq and in Lebanon and in Egypt, all over the world, to the tune of billions and trillions. It's enough already. After this kind of defeat, they're not doing any kind of autopsy. They're not trying to reevaluate anything. They expect their voters to just swallow it. Just, yep, we're going to stand here in front of this building and defend our right to take your money and spend it on anything we think we want to. It's like, well, we need that money. What about putting that money back into our streets? The bridges in our city are falling down. All the roads are cracked. I mean, what's going on here?
North Carolina, Hawaii, Los Angeles, natural disasters that are happening. I mean,
great. So 4 people from FEMA just got fired, including the chief executive director, for diverting $59 million to house illegal immigrants in New York City in luxury hotels. That $59 million could have gone to a lot of Americans who need it. That's just one example out of the last 4 years of Biden and Harris's atrocious record of doing it. But since Trump's the new sheriff in town, to sneak that through, 4 people lost their jobs. Let me ask you a question. After what happened in California, no water in the fire hydrants, reservoirs empty. Has anyone lost their job?
Oh God, no, of course not. Because and that's the problem. That's one of the huge problems about these cities and these states and these municipalities that are controlled by one party, because there's no one there to hold any of them accountable. Because they're all one party. They're all speaking with one voice. They're going to protect their own. But even though the people want to get rid of them.
Here's the thing. Americans are seeing this. Americans saw this and they voted the way they voted in November. They know this is true now. And they're watching it happening in D.C. They're watching these Democrats scream and holler and using rhetoric like we're at war. We want to shut down the government. They're using war language. Democrats love war. They love to go to war. And Trump is the opposite. Trump is peace through strength. War is the end of diplomacy. But there's a whole lot of diplomacy you can do before you get to war. And Biden never learned that lesson after half a century. And Trump knew it coming in the first term, this term as well. So it's very, very telling to watch Democrats who used to be the party of the middle class, used to be the party of free speech, used to be the party of small government, not big government, used to be the party of the people. They've completely flipped the script. They're on the wrong side of history, and they're supporting everything they used to not stand for. And it's shameful. It's shameful. And if you realize, and think about this too, look at their party. Look at their senior members of their party. They're 30, 40, 50 years in government, man. They're completely compromised. To not be able to see how average people are looking at this is they're out of touch with their own constituents. Again, at a time when they should be having town halls, virtual and real, and listening. Stop talking and listen with your earballs. Listen to what they're saying, Nope. They have all the answers because they're there and they I don't know, they're the political class. On our side, Trump made promises and he's delivering on all of them. We couldn't be happier.
Sure.
On their side, what are they rooting for?
Well, I was just going to ask, like, what are they supporting? I mean, what are they rooting for other than corruption? And then there are people that still support this. Like, what are they? I mean, I see it all the time across social media. It's like just bashing Trump. I did see an interesting video today. Some lady said, look, Trump could go to everybody's house, hand everybody in America $1 million, and they would still find something to complain about, something to go after them about.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, Jeff, because if Doge does its job and brings back in trillions and trillions of dollars, they're talking about they're talking about Americans getting in a form of tax breaks and even a check. Like, hey, we saved so much money. Here's $5,000 to whatever. Like, just here you go. This is how much money was getting wasted. You can hate Trump if that's not a policy. You can hate what Trump is doing. That's not a policy. All the Democrats' policy has led them to this point where they're the minority party. After controlling 2/3 of the government, they're now the minority party. No one wants to hear what they have to say. The fake news is a joke. No one takes them seriously. I mean, it's for the Democrats to be this far lost is fascinating to me because they've been in power for the last 12 years. I hope with every fiber of my being that the right controls this country for the next 12 years. Can you imagine how amazing this country will be, how AI will answer so many problems, how no wars, a great economy, energy independence. I mean, I want that for our kids and grandkids. I want that for the future. I don't want a government and a country run by people who really do believe that women should compete against men in sports. And that's the hill they want to die on.
Yeah, I mean, I would much rather live in a world where there's no income tax anymore, and we've ended the Federal Reserve, and we've got back to sound money and monetary principles, and everybody is truly equal.
So at this point in history, all we can do is ignore them. I'm done defending myself. I'm done.
Sure.
Show your sources. You show your sources, and I'm done trying to have a conversation with people that think Joe Biden was a good president. If you think Joe Biden was a good president and Kamala Harris was a good vice president, we don't have anything to talk about. Unless you want to talk, pick the metric, and I'll show you how they were complete failures if you'd like to. But what I'm learning is what I'm trying to do in my own political life, if you will, is see the symbolic meaning in what's happening. For example, do you see what happened today? Trump brought Mark Vogel home from Russia. He'd been in a Russian prison for 4 years, almost 4 years. He came home. Trump brought folks home from Venezuela, from Israel, now from Russia. The symbolic meaning of that is Putin respects Trump. Putin is ready to sit down at the diplomacy table with Trump and go, let's figure out this Ukraine mess. Please, the last guy, nothing, right? There's all kinds of symbolic meaning to what's going on right now. The way Trump's kind of steamrolling over the world, and the Democrats. He's given Hamas a deadline of this Saturday. Have you seen this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And we'll see what happens.
If all hostages are not released by this Saturday, February 15th, by noon, 12, all hell's going to break loose. And I believe him. You want to know why? This is October 7th of 2023. It's February of 2025. That's long enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's long enough to let diplomacy try to work with people who don't believe Israel has the right to exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there was some grumblings on the right with, kind of what some people perceived as a blank check that went to Israel. It's like, again, America's Israel's, horror. There's a lot of people grumbling about that. But at the same time, I mean, we're finally going to be diverting away from the Ukraine and ending that. And plus, I mean, again, if you're just talking about strictly about fiscal responsibility, the fact that Doge is already cutting out waste in the government, of course there's going to be some of that redirected to helping long-standing allies, particularly Israel, regardless of what you think about that.
I don't care what the left thinks about Israel. Is the only democracy in that entire part of the world. They're our only real ally. They're the only democracy in that part of the world. Okay, they deserve our help unconditionally. Biden put conditions on everything. Biden allowed Iran to come back to life. This is all Biden's.
True.
This is mostly Biden's fault. So, Netanyahu said it. We've never had a better partner than Trump. Trump's going to give him the tools he needs to end the job, to end the war, to eliminate Hamas, take over the Gaza Strip, rebuild it, and make it a place where terrorists are able to nest again. And let's not forget, Israel's surrounded by enemies. They're in a very unique situation. They're surrounded by our enemies. So again, Trump's going to fix that problem as well. I think Hamas will act accordingly, or they'll pay the price. But that problem will get fixed pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, what's your take on what he's doing so far as, like with regards to the Gaza Strip and all that stuff? I mean, there's the thing that it's so funny that the media still doesn't seem to get is that the way Trump has always negotiated is that, like anything, you ask high and then you'll take, you know what I mean? So if he's asking for 100%, if he only manages to get 50%, which is still 25% more than anybody else could have gotten, but they break him over the coals.
Listen, but Jeff, no one listens to them anymore. So
sure.
I mean, you can parrot them if you'd like, but no one's listening to them. I'm not listening to them. I don't even care what the left has to say. So you're welcome to have their commentary if you want to, but I'm not even paying attention to their. They're completely irrelevant right now. They're on the wrong side of history. Every American knows it, and they're irrelevant to any adult conversation. They're out of it right now. So I think what he's doing is making the grand gesture, but he also said, even in the grand gesture, and eventually, if people want to partner with us to build it and be a part of that, that's great. As long as they think the way we do, that they believe Israel has the right to exist. You know what I mean? Like basic core tenets here. Partner with us and rebuild, because for the last every iteration of this, I mean, for the last 60, 70 years, it's been just demolished, built, demolished. I mean, Israel cannot have someone next door that doesn't believe they have the right to breathe air. You can't share a border with someone that wants every single one of your citizens dead. That's impossible, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So
no, I was just pointing out how there was just some grumblings among the right about how, you know, people are, why we're still funding, you know, these wars and all this. I mean, it's like, but to your point, I mean, like
they can grumble away, but they can't grumble with the fact that Israel is our one of our oldest allies. We helped form that country, and we'll always support Israel, and we always should, because they're a democracy surrounded by radical Islam, surrounded by they're a democracy surrounded by theocracies.
Yeah, and again, it's a very unique position in the world, meaning that everyone around them wants them dead. So I mean, I think, but again, to anybody that's grumbling over funds being you know, diverted over there, just again, fiscally speaking, Doge is already chopping plenty off other places, and there's more to come. So now going back to the idea of just Democrats just blatantly defying, you know, law. I mean, flagrantly defying that, which is interesting, because, you know, I thought they were the party. I thought nobody was above the law, and they were the party of law and order, and that, you know. So, interestingly enough, our new AG, Pam Bondi, had a, you know, just a pretty clear message to anybody who is thinking of going against the wishes of the federal government, especially as it pertains to illegal immigration in this country. Again, the word illegal being, you know, the operative word. So I don't know. Let's see what she has to say. Let's check this out.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. As you know, we sued Illinois, and New York didn't listen. So now you're.
I mean, plain as day. And you know, so now you've got Pam Bondi, you've got Tom Homan, you've got all these people that are saying, look, they're illegal. They got to get out of here. Now they're going after the really, really bad ones first, you know, the ones that are these violent offenders that I think, I mean, look, and I hate how the left always spins like, oh, they're separating families. And they're just like, have you seen, like, the people that they're kicking out? These aren't, like, you know, mothers and grandfathers. These are bad dudes with, like, you know, face tattoos all over them. So, I mean, like, this is next level gang stuff going on. So again, like, it just adds to their irrelevancy.
They're completely irrelevant. They're completely irrelevant. Most New Yorkers, and I mean New Yorkers of the state, not just the city of New York or the 5 boroughs, but most people that live in New York, upstate New York is red.
Sure.
Upstate New York is red, and
Central California is red.
There are lots of sections of the boroughs that are red. So they're not speaking for their entire state. Again, Democrats, the far left, only speaks to themselves. They're a hive mind, and it's going to cost them politically big time for the next generation. I hope it costs them right now. I hope these lawsuits have merit and they get some real action. I hope they get taken to the Supreme Court, where they get overruled and get overturned, because shame on them for defending people that are living off of our tax dollars, who don't deserve to be here, and they're here illegally. It's giving a pass to people who have contributed nothing to the country, using our tax dollars to get to people who, I mean, Americans need that money. There are a lot of poor people in this country. We have a lot of low-income people that are struggling. It's not a lack of money. It's a misallocation of resources, and now it's defying the federal government, which no one's above the law. Well, Joe Biden found 7,000 people that were above the law, in his opinion, his own family, and 7,000 other Democrats were above the law. So according to the Democrats, if you're a president, you decide who's above the law.
Of course. Well, I mean, look, you just described, all of the money that's going to people that don't contribute to society. I would say that's been going on in politics since the very beginning. I mean, money just goes to people who contribute to
Well, it's
society.
funny. One more thing that Doge is looking at is Doge is creating a new algorithm, or whatever you want to call it, to look at people, what their salary is and has been since their tenure with the government, and what their current wealth is, what their current estimated value is, and they're
Sure.
finding disparities off the charts. The former CEO of USAID, Samantha Power, took that position with a personal worth of about $6 million. So she wasn't a poor person; she was a pretty well-off person, worth about $6 million. In 3 years of working at USAID as the CEO, when she left, when she was forced out 3 years later, a couple of weeks ago, by Trump's team, she was worth about $38 million. Her salary was $180,000 a year.
Interesting.
There's no way to make that math work. There's no possible way to make that math work. If you ever written a book or released a film or some worldwide thing where you're making crazy royalties, there's no way to fill that gap without saying the word that we're not going to say, that everyone knows I should say. So that is absolutely something the government should be looking into, because the Democrats never, ever, ever say these two words, political corruption. You never hear it out of their mouths, ever. But we're finding that they live
accountability.
Well, we found out they're swimming in an ocean of it, literally an ocean of political corruption. And the unions that support them, it's all just this kickback, nepotism, all taking money away from American taxpayers. And again, one thing I love about this administration from the jump is every one of Trump's cabinet members and everyone that speaks on television about what they're doing, somewhere in the paragraph of their statement is, and we want to make sure we're being responsible to American taxpayers by being transparent, by being transparent and letting them know where we're spending the money and why.
Words that were never spoken by the left or any of those previous administrations. So, hey, to our friends on the left, I mean, look, obviously you've chosen your side, but what exactly and who are you defending?
Well, I'll give you one quick example. The Supreme Court said that the Supreme Court ruled that Joe Biden, a sitting U.S. president, cannot pay off private personal loans.
Yes.
Can't do it. Joe Biden spent $183 billion paying off student loans. But here's the thing. I'm asking, and that's a fact. That's fact check it, anyone. That's a fact. He ignored the Supreme Court, first word being supreme. He ignored that. And out of arrogance and loyalty to his far left woke policies, he said, no, I'm going to pay off some student loans. But did he share the criteria? Like, whose loans got paid off? Who decided that? The unelected bureaucrats that you're now defending? Who decided who got their loans paid off? What, was it only Democrats? I mean, there was no transparency in terms of how and who got their loans paid off. He just said, I'm doing it. That's a Democrat way of governing. Trump's way of governing is these folks for this reason, not student loans, but like any kind of aid, or these people for this reason and this much, because they work for us. Trump realizes from running businesses, CEOs have to answer to a board. The board has to answer to shareholders. I mean, there's always someone to answer back to. And in this case, it's the American people, and we've spoken.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the political class has not had to answer to anyone. There's been no real accountability. I mean, they say, we're accountable to our constituents and our voters, but that's they keep the voters so misinformed, and they're so, these low propensity voters. Most people don't know what the hell's going on. So they prey on the public's ignorance, and then they can just coast through several decades of a political career and just living off of the taxpayer money and the graft and the corruption. And, it's enough already. And for as much as whatever the people on the left who still hate Trump, no matter what he does, the guy is the bull in the china shop that I think that the country needs. And I don't really care who it is that's shaking things up. I just want to see. And as far as unelected bureaucrats, I think we've already covered that. I mean, there's been plenty of them throughout government, throughout history. And look, I think everybody just wants to get back to just some sort of sense of normalcy. I think it'd be nice for our government to be trustworthy again and transparent again. I think there's, he's making moves even in kind of other things like the JFK files and and all that stuff that's hopefully going to be coming out soon. I mean, again, it's all in the interest of trying to restore sense of transparency and patriotism in our own government, which we haven't had as a country for, probably since Reagan,
Listen, people have not trusted the government or the mainstream media now for a generation, for 20 years. But it really ramped up at Trump's first term when we saw what lengths they would go. The Russia hoax, the Steele dossier, completely fabricated, yet a sitting president got impeached over evidence that we now know was completely made up. Mm-hmm. But they took it as far as impeaching him, the Democrats. That's how far they'll go, lying to prove their point. So these are not rational people. These are America Last people. That's why they're out of my conversation. I don't consider their feelings or their thoughts anymore. They've lost. They need to sit on the sidelines and learn. And again, at a time when they should be doing an autopsy on their own party, and what they should really be doing is the time that they're spending standing in front of empty buildings in DC screaming at the wind, they should be back in their districts having town halls and asking their voters, what did we do wrong? How do we fail you guys? We obviously failed you guys. Help us understand what you want us to do when we're back in DC. They're doing the exact opposite. Yeah. They're lecturing at them. They're saying the Democrats have the nerve to say the two new DNC heads said when they got the gig last Saturday, Kamala Harris lost the election because of racism and misogyny. That's their answer to the entire country. Like, you guys know how ivory tower. How what an ivory tower answer that is? You think most Americans Americans are thinking about isms when they're trying to pay their rent? They're not thinking about isms when they're trying to buy gas, and pay their credit card bill. You know what I'm trying to say, man?
Yeah, the fact that they keep defaulting back to those stock answers just means that they have nothing else. They have that. So just it's like, okay, well, when you have no other argument, racism, sexism, misogyny. I mean, that's their default setting. So fine, to your point, let them continue down this path. Let them become more and more irrelevant. And
as we said at the beginning, to quote Obama in reverse, the Democrats are on the wrong side of history and will probably remain there for, I don't know, the next generation if they don't change their tune very quickly. They're distancing themselves every second from the American people. Because we know when you become a politician, a senator or a congressperson, the minute you start that gig, you're making 6 times what the American family is making. You're getting Cadillac health insurance, not Obamacare. You're getting a pension for life. I don't have a pension for life. Do you have a pension for life? So when you join the political class, you're already 6 times above average American people, and you have the audacity to say to us that Trump's team's finding trillions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse, and that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
How dare you? You're already making 6 times more than a hardworking American family, and that's not enough. We need more corruption. We need more graft. We need more waste. Stop. Exactly.
So hey, as usual, we are here for it. We're quite happy to see some of the moves that are being made at the executive level. And we're one more closer to the cabinet today. We got Tulsi Gabbard, who was, for those of us who might be watching this later, she was confirmed today. So now I just want to see RFK get. And by the way, finding it quite ironic that you and I are rooting for 2 former very high up Democrat cabinet members. I mean, come on. This would not be even conceivable in a Democratic administration. I mean, now we have 2 major cabinet appointees who were former huge, just icons of the Democratic Party, and not just them. Plus, hey, I really want Kash Patel to get, but think about it. Mm-hmm. Tulsi Gabbard getting confirmed today. RFK. Hopefully, this will, whatever they're doing to drag their feet on those. I really hope that they're planning on making those confirmations this week. They need to happen. And imagine what's going to happen once you let Tulsi at him, and once you let RFK.
Tulsi was a former member of the DNC elite. I mean, she was that high up. She was that high up, and of course, Hillary Clinton called her, and to this day, calls her a Russian asset.
Sure.
So again, I'm going to make a crazy analogy here, but if you're a Muslim and you leave, that's really, per the Quran, not acceptable. You're not really allowed to leave. Same kind of allegiance in the Democrat Party. Like, once you leave, you're non-person grata, whatever. Yeah. I mean, you don't really exist anymore, because you've left the right side. Like, they don't believe in the middle anymore. There's no middle. You're either on way over here or you're gone. So Tulsi's gone. She's now their enemy. And that's a tough way to live. It's a tough way to look at your former colleagues. Like, why not just congratulate her and say, sorry, we're not on the same team, but I wish you the best in life. Like, it's not that. It's, you're a Russian asset. You're a traitor. So it's exactly how we don't want our kids to behave.
Yeah. Interesting.
Be friends with everybody. Everyone's different. Just be nice to people. Not the Democrats.
I think that explains why it might be hard for them to go back and try to recalibrate with their base and have those very discussions that you were thinking, because the problem is, I think the nuts have taken over the asylum for the most part. You know what I mean? So you got the really extreme leaders of the left just squawking back at the really extreme constituents on the left. And so all of the people who are like your RFKs and your Tulsi Gabbards and your Nicole Shanahans, and even in some cases, you're starting to see glimmers of it from like Bill Maher and people like that. I mean, who are really no fans of Trump, who are starting to call this stuff out. And what are they going to do? They're just going to immediately turn on them as well. They will.
They'll eventually marginalize them. They'll have to marginalize them. You got to be a part of the hive, man. If you're outside the hive, you're outside. That's how it works in that team.
So, okay. So then let's see, where's our count at so far? Then we've got RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Nicole Shanahan, Chris Cuomo. I mean, look, he's not fully there, but he's already called out people. Cenk Uygur from Young Turks has been calling out bullshit for a long time. Anna Kasparian, pretty much his co-anchor on there, she's been calling out stuff for years. You still have a Bill Maher, who's, again, no fan of Trump. Michael Rappaport, no fan of Trump, and complete. I mean, like, how many? Stephen A. Smith, exactly. How many of these people do you need to see? John Fetterman. I guess I'm wearing my Fetterman gear today.
Yeah.
But even people like John Fetterman, who have look, none of I'm not saying any of these people are MAGA or Trump supporters, but I am saying that they're leaning a little more centric, or they're
exactly
kind of advocating for some basic common sense. How many of those people have to cross over before the party elites go, I think maybe we've been on the fringe for a little too long. So according to them, everybody that's even taken a little bit of a different position are all MAGA extremists. RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Nicole Shanahan, Michael Rappaport, everybody we just named, they're all MAGA extremists, right?
I think the left doesn't know what it's talking about anymore. I think they're nearsighted. They're nearsighted and blindsided. But what's most important is they're irrelevant. And thank goodness they're irrelevant. Thank goodness the fake news is irrelevant. No one cares what CNN says. No one cares what MSNBC says. They've all been discredited. All late night TV hosts that all lean to the left. Ratings are in the tank, all of them. As they should be. Get rid of it. Get rid of them. Just get rid of them. I mean, none of it makes any sense anymore. I mean, SNL is finally started to do comedy skits on both sides. They were pro Biden till the last year. They were like, oof, it's really hard to not make fun of this guy. He's literally asleep. He's literally pooping in his pants and sleeping, standing up. Like, that's funny. It's hard not to make fun of that. It's funny as a comedian. Like, how do you not go after that? You know?
Of course. Well, you can't go after it when the government's saying don't go after it. So I'm here for it. I know we can keep going and going and going. But I mean, hey,
one more pivotal figure before we call it.
Sure.
Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's no fan of Trump, but I'll tell you what, he will point out some things that everyone on the left goes. You know, like in the first debate with Hillary, his classic line for the ages, when he became not a Trump fan, but he became a Trump aware of Trump, is the moment in the first debate with Hillary when she went after Trump and said, he brags about not paying taxes and he's a billionaire and he's the reason why America doesn't have any money. And Trump says, without missing a beat, he goes, well, Hillary, you've been a senator for what, 8 years? Why haven't you changed the tax code so people like me can't take advantage of tax breaks? The reason that you don't is because all your donors and special interests take advantage of the exact same tax breaks that you allow to be on the books. And Chappelle went, and ladies and gentlemen, a star was born.
Yeah, it's true.
No one has ever spoken to a current political figure like that directly, because everyone knows he was at their wedding. He was at the Clintons' wedding. I mean, so he nailed it. And someone like Chappelle was like, look, man, I might not agree with this guy on everything, but that was dope. That was a very solid response to her nonsense. Like, so change the laws. You know,
exactly.
You can't.
Exactly. And then, like we've been saying for months now, the Democrats have been in power for 12 out of the last 16 years. If any of this stuff was going to change, they had plenty of opportunity to do it. So the fact that Trump is going to go in there with Elon and JD and now Tulsi and hopefully Cash and, and RFK and just take a blowtorch to the entire system, great, because it's become so corrupt. It's rotten from within. And exactly. I can't wait to see what else they do. So let's keep our fingers crossed for confirmations for Cash and for RFK. We'll put it out in the universe. And and then hopefully the next time we talk, we'll be talking about the full cabinet. The Avengers have finally assembled. So I'm here for that. So as usual, you can find us at our website at patriotsonlyplease.com, where you can join the mailing list and kind of find out where we are, who we are. You're not going to get our home addresses or anything like that. We don't want to put that out there, but you can certainly, find out when our next episode is going to be. And if you're not into the whole email signing up thing, you can just go stalk us, follow, subscribe, stalk all that at Patriots Only Please on your social media of choice. We're everywhere. We are everywhere.
If I can just say one little tag before we take off. We're Jeff and I are learning as we go. We're citizen journalists, and we're learning these social media apps and platforms in real time. What really matters is your engagement. So if you could like or comment or subscribe, it really means a lot. The channel will grow a lot faster if you would just take a second or two out of your day to say, I like this. This was cool. I appreciate this. That adds up over time in ways you can't even imagine. So if you enjoy this content in any way, please acknowledge that for us. And by the way, if we're inspiring anyone out there to start their own channel or do their own thing, do it. A friend of ours said your vote is your voice in the last election cycle. Well, this could be your voice too. So if you have something, to quote the great Jordan Peterson, if you have something to say that's provocative and you don't say it, silence is a lie.
That's deep. See, you can't follow that. All right. So on that note, quoting the great Jordan Peterson. All right. No, there you go. We'll see you next time.
Keep on trumping.
There you go. Bye for now.